There was a team of scientists who flew into Central Africa to study a certain species of monkey that had recently been discovered. And it was important that they bring back a few of these monkeys alive and unharmed. And so understanding monkey behavior, they took with them some special jugs. And these jugs had long, narrow necks to them, just barely big enough for a monkey to slide his hand into. And then they put nuts in the bottom of the jugs and then staked these jugs at various places in the jungle, securing them tightly. And sure enough, when a monkey came around, he smelled the nuts. And he'd go over and he'd stick his hand through that narrow opening, grab a fistful of nuts, and then he couldn't pull his hand out because his fist was too big for the neck of the jug. And so he was caught. He was trapped. Well, as we look at our gospel reading today about the young, wealthy young man, we see he was also trapped. Jesus is speaking to him. He's asking, the young man is asking, what does he need to do to attain eternal life? And Jesus says the commandments. He says, I've done this since my early days. And Jesus says, one thing more. And he gives him a special vocation. He says, go sell what you have, give to the poor, you'll have treasure in heaven, and come follow me. The young man thought for a moment, and he just couldn't do it because he had too many possessions. He couldn't let go of them. And so, like the monkey, he was trapped. And so he went away sad. Well, this story is about money, but it's more than that. It's about how we look upon money. And money is a great thing. It's a gift from God. And it can do a lot for ministry and for service of others. And if you have a lot of it, you can do a lot of ministry and service for others. But the problem is that money and possessions often end up possessing us. I knew a man once who was pretty well-to-do financially, and he fell in love with this fountain pen he saw in the store. And so he bought it for $500, $500 for a fountain pen. And he told me later that he never did enjoy using it because he was always afraid he was going to leave it somewhere and lose it. And he kept patting his pocket to make sure it was still there. After a while, he realized that he didn't possess the pen possessed him. Well, this young man in the gospel today, Jesus looks at him and loves him, and he sees in this young man the possibility of greatness. But the problem was the young man would not let go of his possessions. They owned him rather than him owning his possessions. Now, money, well, and this young man, he went away sad. And I think the reason he went away sad was for that moment, he saw in himself also the possibility of greatness. But he couldn't do what was required. Money is not evil. Money is good. We need it to survive. We have responsibilities we have to take care of, and it takes money to do that. So it's not a bad thing to have, but it's how we look upon money. That's really the question. And we can become very attached to our possessions, very attached. We can become so attached that our possessions become more important than anything else in our life. And we spend our life running after money and our possessions. And so when that happens, that becomes our God that we worship. Money becomes our God. And so Jesus asked this young man not just to help the poor, but he asked this young man to become poor and to devote his life to a life of unselfishness and service of others. And that is really at the heart of the gospel. So the question this morning is, what greatness are you called to achieve in your life? What greatness? And the other question, what do you have to give up to achieve that greatness? It may be money and possessions, it might be, might not be. Or it may be giving up your selfishness and pride. That's a big thing to give up. Or it may be to give up your fear of failure, fear of missing out on something, fear of rejection. You know, at one point, I know in the Gospels, Jesus says, fear is useless. What is needed is trust. Well, to achieve greatness, what we have to do is open our hands and let God fill them. We have to let go and let God. I have a little prayer I'd like to share with you. I entitled this prayer, Let Go. Jesus, Lord, I can't let go. Although I hear your call, I want to follow after you. But I can't give up all my money, all I own. Is that what you really want? Then why did you first bless me so? Was it to tease or taunt? I know you have a plan for me. Greatness might be mine. You tell me first I must let go and trust your grand design. To love you first and things last, all things material. Seek first the things that really last, that which is spiritual. Don't hang on or be attached. You want me to know. Be free. Be filled with God's mercy. Open your hands. Let go.